Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Hawkins and welcome to this very first episode of Opening Up the Gospels. In these videos, we're going to be looking at the life of Jesus of Nazareth from the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Bible. My main goal in this weekly series is just to chronologically walk through his life and really to dig into the gold mine of what the Apostle Paul in Ephesians 3:8 calls the unsearchable riches of Christ. There's so much to marvel at, and I want to just walk through some of it with you in 7 to 10 minute episodes every Tuesday. Here's just a quick breakdown of how we're going to get started with all of the episodes so you know where we're going. So in the first 4 episodes, I want to give you just a little bit of the why behind the what, just some of the reasons why the life of Jesus is even worth a series of videos. Then the next 2, I want to talk about pondering or contemplating the life of Jesus, just with some practical tips on how his story can really move from being a fairy tale to real history in our minds. And the last 4 in this first group, I'm going to dive into an introduction of each of the Gospels individually and talk about things like their author, their style, their structure, and some of the major themes we see in each of them. Then after 10 episodes of what I feel is a very necessary introduction, we're going to jump into the story itself and just begin chronologically walking through the scenes in Jesus' life. Now, I'll inevitably take episodes during that narrative time to diverge into theology or just some more background, just because our understanding of what's actually going on in the Gospels and everything Jesus said there inherently shapes our theology. But my primary objective is simply to tell the story of Jesus' life so that you can talk to him about it and deepen your own friendship with him. For far too much of my Christian life, I looked at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as just random collections of the stories of Jesus, just walking around random places in Israel, healing people and getting mad at the Pharisees sometimes, and just kind of buying time before the cross. But the life of Jesus is so much more glorious than what Sunday school videos and skits and puppet shows may have taught you. And because the Gospels are not that complicated, you can know the story with clarity. I mean, as a Christian, our highest joy actually comes in getting lost in a person far more beautiful than what we see in the mirror every day. I mean, the mirror may be a good place to fix your hair, but it's not the place to find your highest joy. Now, you may wonder why I'm doing a series on the Gospels and not on some other hot topic like grace or justice or hell or prayer. Well, I have a few simple reasons, and I want to take the next several episodes to talk about them. I believe that the words of Jesus in context, they can bring much clarity to the confusion in many of those hot topics, and I believe that the life of Jesus is one of the most neglected subjects in Christianity, where I really feel it should be one of the most central. Now, I hope that throughout this series, you'll begin to feel this with me so much more. In this episode, I want to talk about the first of 4 reasons on why I want to focus on the Gospels. And that's the simple fact that Christianity is about putting our faith in a person named Jesus and growing in a real relationship with him. Now, before you stop this video because you think I'm going to talk about something you already know, just give me a few minutes to explain what I mean. Being a Christian is not like being a conservative or a liberal or a Republican or a Democrat, though we probably unconsciously thought of it that way. I mean, at least I used to. And it's not first and foremost believing in a message or having certain values, but it's about putting our faith in a real person named Jesus and growing in a real relationship with him. Now, when I say in a relationship, I don't mean like when someone says I'm in a relationship on Facebook, okay? Christianity is about a real relationship with Jesus, who is called the Christ and who is our God and our Maker. Now, even right now as I said that, I'm sure some of you are saying, well, yeah, I get it, a relationship with God. But I'm saying that right there is in fact the problem. We've trivialized the concept of relationship with him, and we've assumed wrong things about what it really looks like. Now let's take a second and really think about what being in a relationship with someone actually means. I mean, to say it simply, it means you relate to them. I mean, that's what people do with one another, right? They relate. So think of the way that you relate to, say, your best friend or to your spouse. I mean, you may know things about them, like where they grew up or what they like to do, or what their habits are, or what their siblings' names are. You relate to them, in other words, because you have real knowledge of them. In other words, knowledge is the substance of your friendship with them. Now, your interaction with them began maybe with just a little bit of knowledge, but then you sought to know more about them. And then the more that you related to them through that knowledge over time, your heart began to overflow with love for them, right? Now, it didn't stop there, especially if it's your best friend or your spouse that we're talking about, because when you love someone, the most natural thing to do is to seek to know as much as you possibly can about them, right? So you didn't remain content with the degree that you related to them, so you sought to know them more and interact with them more. And that still led to more of an overflowing heart of love for them. Now, do you see how this works as a cycle? It's knowledge begets an overflowing heart, which begets a desire for more knowledge, which begets more overflow in love, over and over and over again. This is what I'm calling relational knowledge, and it's at the heart of any close friendship. So let me ask a contrasting question about relationship just to help you feel this a little bit more. What if you were a college student and you came home for your semester break and you told your parents, "Mom, Dad, I've met the one. We're going to get married and we're going to live happily ever after." I mean, naturally, your parents would want to know as much as they possibly could about your potential spouse, right? Now, how foolish would you sound if you weren't able to tell your parents anything but, "Well, I don't really know much, Mom and Dad, but I just know I'm lovesick. I just feel great. I found true joy and true bliss." Well, that isn't friendship or love. That's infatuation. Why? Well, because it isn't based on anything substantial. I mean, it may be very sincere, but there's no real knowledge of the person you say that you're lovesick for. Now, just to say this a third way, what would happen if you just went up to somebody randomly on the street and just shouted, "Hey, I love you"? Well, they'd either look back at you oddly, completely ignore you, or just laugh at you. Why? Well, because you couldn't possibly love them because you don't know them, right? Now take these examples and just let them sink in for a second, and then think again about what it means to have a relationship with Jesus and to actually know him. You don't have a relationship with Jesus primarily because you go to a building on a Sunday to sing songs. I mean, people go to concerts all the time to sing and have their emotions moved, but that doesn't bring them any closer to having a deep friendship with the lead singer, right? Now we have to recognize that the way that we get to know Jesus and the way that our hearts overflow with love for him is no different than the way that we get to know any other type of person. Though the type of relationship we have with Jesus is very different than any other person because he's the creator and we're the creature, our love for him grows in the exact same way that it does for someone else. The fuel for our love to grow is real, substantial knowledge of his life and his words as the Gospels reveal it to us. We're really fooling ourselves if we say that we're lovesick and we barely know anything about him. I mean, Jesus loves our sincerity, but he actually wants us to know him and his story and not just have fuzzy ideas from Sunday school stories about him. So do you feel this just a little bit more now? I mean, I think we need to ask ourselves some hard questions. How has it become almost perfectly normal in the church today for us to say that we love Jesus more than anything and yet know almost nothing about his life and his words? I mean, what is our relationship with Jesus really based upon? Jesus had 4 brothers, and he had sisters too. He lived in a small town called Capernaum during the 2 years of his ministry before being crucified in Jerusalem. I mean, he really lived among us as a seemingly ordinary man. I mean, he ate meals, he had best friends he spent more time with than others. He was John the Baptist's relative, and even right now, as he sits enthroned in the heavens, he has vivid memories from his childhood. I mean, there's so much more, and it's so glorious, and that's what we're going to develop over the series. So when you count up all the chapters in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we have 89 of them. Each of those chapters reveals the precious record of Jesus' life, words, and deeds. And when we take them together as a coherent testimony, they give us such a beautiful picture of our God and the first 32 years of his life as a human. For us as Christians, the Gospels should be our ultimate source of joy, pleasure, and awe and wonder. I mean, not just a place to get theology for our church doctrinal statements or practical principles for life, but a place to grow in real, substantial knowledge of our God and our friend Jesus. So again, why a series on the Gospels? The first simple reason is just that to know Jesus, his life, his story, his words, and to put our faith in him because of that knowledge, that's what it fundamentally means to be a Christian and to love him. Our faith for salvation is not based on what scholars write in books or what pastors say in Sunday sermons. Our faith is in a real person who is really pinned to a wooden beam and who really spilled his blood on a real day in history. The details of his life, they all matter to us because he matters to us. So in next week's episode of Opening Up the Gospels, we're going to talk about the second reason for why the Gospels are so important for us to know. We want to know the Jesus of the Bible, not the Jesus of our culture. I hope you're provoked just a little bit, and I hope you'll join me on this journey as we seek to know the man whom Paul says in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Now, as I mentioned already, I'm going to release a new episode every Tuesday. So you're going to find this episode and all the future episodes published on my YouTube channel. But I want to encourage you to join in a dialogue with the other viewers on the Gospel section of my website. The videos are going to appear there too, alongside with some other very special features you're not going to want to miss. So go and check it out now at www.joshuahawkins.com/gospels. I'd love to hear your feedback as well as we're going along and how Jesus is touching your heart with his life and with this story. So bless you, and I hope to see you next week.